On the phone, boom. In person, boom. Level 3, even better, at their office watching them work. What? You would do that? Absolutely. How to overcome your biggest challenges when it comes to building a software company. I know that's a big promise, but today I'm going to talk to you about how to overcome the challenge of not knowing what to build next, or who's the right customer for your solution, or maybe it's making sure that the feature or the product you build is a must-have, not a nice-to-have. In this video, I'm going to share with you guys the 3 frameworks. I call it the question logic. That's really transformed the way I build and scale companies. You know, I really believe that questions are extremely powerful. For example, when I'm working with a founder on their product, I always suggest that they ask their customers, what do you do 3 minutes before or 3 minutes after you use our product? Because that gives you the breadth of what information do they need before they come into your product, and what are they doing with the result of using your product afterwards. And I think that's just one example out of hundreds that I use to kind of guide my thinking, strategy, and product direction. You know, I remember I was building a product called Timely, which is a simple premise. You schedule your tweets, and then we analyze your Twitter account for engagement and figure out the best times of day to tweet it out. So you didn't even have to think about that. You just queued it up, and we would do the rest of it. Kind of like what a Hootsuite or a Buffer would do today. This was even before Buffer. So the challenge was we got a ton of people to sign up, but nobody actually tweeted. So I looked in our back-end system, all the accounts, started emailing people and say like, hey, I noticed you signed up for Timely, but you didn't schedule a tweet. The scheduling of the tweet was critical to getting them to what I call a kind of core value in the product, because the analytics, the data, the more engagement they got on the tweet than sending it at a different time was the aha moment. So if I couldn't get them to tweet, then they were never going to receive that. And I asked them, and all the responses were the same. Oh, awesome product. Love it. Totally going to use it. And I'm like, but why didn't you? They're like, you know what? I just didn't have anything to say. And I was like, that's interesting. I can understand that. If I signed up for a product that made me send an email and I didn't know what to write in an email, I would just be like, I'll come back to it later. And that was the overwhelming response I was getting. So the question I had to come up with is, what could I suggest or share or help them with to get a tweet out? And for me, I'm a big fan of powerful sayings and quotes and life beliefs. And I just thought, you know what, for my target audience, what are some of the beliefs that I could go find incredible quotes on that I could suggest, so that when they sign up and be like, hey, try it out, try one of these quotes, right? These are the top quotes from people in your industry or whatever it is. And we added that prompt right at the beginning on the onboarding experience, and we got 30% of the people to take action, which meant we activated them. They set the schedule, the tweet went out, then we sent them a follow-up, a notification saying, here's the results of sending out your tweet and your engagement, and that helped us build the product. That is the power of questions. You know, recently I was sitting down with Will Schroeder, the CEO and founder of Startups.co. He's the founder that bought my previous company, Clarity.fm. And we were talking to a group of entrepreneurs, and I asked them, I was like, how do you figure out how to build a product suite and try to figure out what core features and or products you should build to kind of expand the value you give to your customer? And, you know, for a guy that's built and sold he sold his last company for $300 million in cash, to building this great, huge company, Startups, I think they're 175 employees. He said, and this is a secret, he said to a small group of people, I still man the chat. I still talk to the customers. I want to understand what's their reality, what's true for them, so that I can try to uncover, because he said that's the role of a CEO and a founder, it's to uncover their needs, their challenges, the language they use, so I can help guide every other decision I make in my business. So I'm going to walk you through 3 frameworks that I think are the best for solving key problems. The first one is pain. How do you figure out what pain to solve in the market? Or if you have a product, what is the specific pain that I could angle or message towards to really get people to hear that and resonate and want to buy? And the first framework is called the Ask Method by a friend of mine, Ryan Levesque. Super blessed to have him as a buddy now. And he wrote a book, New York Times bestseller, called The Ask, or just Ask. And it's all around really uncovering, ideas, like what idea do I want to pursue around a certain pain or market, and figuring out how to sequence that to kind of different segmentations or buckets or pain areas that he calls them. And his framework, if you're thinking of starting a business or you have a business, you haven't nailed the pain that you really want to solve in the market, it is fantastic. You know, I've actually been helping him on his new product called Bucket that helps people kind of do the deep dive survey in the framework. And it's a series of questions, but the biggest question is the SMIQ question, single most important question, which kind of follows the structure of when it comes to X, right? When it comes to scaling your business, what is the single most important challenge that you face? And getting your community, running ads to that survey, getting them to answer that question and looking for the language and the commonality and what perspective do you bring that's unique that you could really attack with the solution. I think when it comes to pain, best framework out there. Ask method. Check it out. Number 2. When it comes to positioning, okay, I've got a product, it's working, I have early adopters, I have innovators using my product. How do I get my positioning better? Because I really believe in real estate, it's all about location, location, location. And when software, it's about position, position, position. So how do I position it to really cut through the noise and be valuable to my customer segment? That question framework is jobs to be done, JTBD, created by a guy named Bob Mosta, and Clayton Christensen, who wrote the book, The Innovator's Dilemma. I unfortunately think the framework name is probably the worst name, and I'll say it's awesome. It's just JTBD is kind of like, it's weird, okay? So jobs to be done. The whole argument is nobody buys your solution for the features. They hire your product to do a job. And that is a very interesting reframe of how most entrepreneurs look at their service or their company. So think about what job are my customers hiring me to do to really make sure that I solve that problem for them. It's called the Jobs to be Done framework. There's a whole kind of customer journey discovery calls that you can do with your customers. Go check out the material online around that. I'm going to provide links and resources for all 3 frameworks to help you get right to the good stuff that I've discovered and used. I did JTBD a lot when I was building out Clarity because it was a marketplace. There was different use cases, and it was instrumental. The third, which to me really solves the product side, you know, you're just trying to build the product and what features should you build and how do you validate it, is using what's called customer development. And that was created by a gentleman named Steve Blank. Somebody that I've had the fortune of working, not working, but I got invited to speak at his MBA class at Berkeley University, which was a crazy scenario considering I never even went to university myself, to just share our approach to how we use customer development in our technology products. And the best fast track to do that is using a survey, and you'll have to go online. I'm going to link up the service that I use to do these surveys, but it's called the Customer Development Survey. It was actually created by Sean Ellis, who created the whole term growth hacking, and it will allow you to understand exactly where your product falls short, what you need to do to fix it, to really turn it from a nice to have to a must have. Those 3 frameworks will change everything. But I want to make sure I leave you with a tip that everybody gets wrong, okay? So first, go check out the Ask method, then check out JTBD, and then finally customer development, kind of like pain, product, and positioning. But the thing you got to do that you can't hide from is you got to get in front of your customers. I am so done with founders hiding behind their analytics and their dashboards and their split testing tools and their surveys and all this stuff. They're literally acting like the people on the other side of the screen or using their product are not human beings. If you really want to get next level understanding of what your customers or potential customers want, here's what I'm going to suggest you do. And there's 3 different levels of this. The lowest level is phone calls. Pick up the phone. I call it Smile and Dial every Thursday. Try it out and just talk to new signups and customers and ask them how they bought using the different frameworks I shared to kind of guide your questioning. Number 2 is face-to-face, okay? The world of B2B software is not B2B, it's H to H, human to human. Get in front of them, look in their eyes, talk about it, create a relationship, understand their world. The third level, which is the top level, which is like ninja status, is in their office watching them work. That is the fastest way, the most potent way, the most impactful way for you to go from, I really don't understand how they think about their work or problems they have, and how you can understand how to build your product. Watching somebody actually solve the problem your product does in their environment, using their tools, talking to the people on their team is incredibly valuable. And I think that most founders underestimate the willingness of their customers or potential customers to invite them in to show them how it all works. They want to show you. So take the opportunity and do that. This has been my question logic framework review. If you have any challenges around pain, positioning, or product, check those out. As per usual, I want to challenge you to live a bigger life and a bigger business, and I'll see you next Monday. If you want more videos on product management, be sure to subscribe to my channel. I'd also invite you to join my newsletter where I share exclusive invites, community contests, and other free training videos. And if you're ready to keep going, I got 2 more videos queued up, ready for you right there. I'll see you next week.